Thank you for listening in to Conversations with Alice and Jay, The Journey to Here. Please remember to subscribe, hit the like button and share. Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Alice and Jay, The Journey to Here. I'm your host, Alice and Jay. And today we're welcoming Amber Mayfield. Amber is the founder, director and lead choreographer of SoulfulMOTION. Amber is a mother of 3 and by day a speech pathologist helping families with their tots. But Amber comes alive teaching SoulfulMOTION classes. Amber has served her community for the past 10 years as a group fitness instructor in the greater Grand Rapids area in Michigan, earning recognition and awards to commemorate her experience. Amber's mission and passion are to continue to create a group fitness program that not only meets your physical needs, but most importantly, meets your spiritual needs through a praise and worship experience and community. Amber, thank you for joining us here on Conversations with Alice and Jay. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Great stuff. So, Amber, I first heard you speak at Corey's Hello Summer Wifepreneur Conference, and you spoke about health, fitness, a little on nutrition and self-care. So how did you get started in the health and wellness business with the focus on fitness?
That is an interesting story. Yes, I had just finished up my first college degree, and I was kind of in between stages. I had to go to graduate school, but at the time I graduated in the winter, and so there was kind of a break between graduating and going back to school. And so I started working at a fitness facility at the front desk. And I'd always been just kind of an active person, but never ever thought about teaching classes. And so I had been at this fitness facility. I'm checking people in at the front desk. And one day, one of our fitness instructors called in sick. And myself and the other person who was at the desk, we were like, what are we going to do? It's a smaller facility. Like, we are about to have 50 people here with nothing to do. I was like, well, I can do it. I really couldn't. Like, so I ended up doing something, but it was not good at all. And what I found out was, like, I love people. I mean, it was fun. It was funny. And I was like, this would actually be fun. And so that's kind of how I got started teaching health and wellness classes and fitness classes. Just kind of diving in, and like we kind of talked about earlier, just not being perfect, but just doing it. And so from there, I started SoulfulMOTION a couple years later after having a baby, my first baby, and I was at home on maternity leave and had been teaching fitness classes for a little bit now. And I love God, I love music, I love to move my body, and I just kind of felt God saying, you need to put these things together. And I just sat on it and talked to my husband about it. He was like, do it, you know? And since that time, we've been going strong since 2014.
2014. And it's interesting that you say that how you got into it. There's so many things in life that are people's passions, but the way they got into it at the beginning, they would have never known it was their passion. Because if I digress a little bit, that's how I got into doing events. So doing events, I found it was almost like my lifeblood. And the way that I got into it, I was dating this guy. He was a businessman and he was very well connected in the community. And we were doing this, I think it was a masquerade ball that I went to with him. So I was dressed up. I've never been to anything like this because I was only like 21, fresh out of church kind of thing. Never been to anything like this before. And the person that would normally take care of the cloakrooms for them wasn't there. So they were panicking because it was something like it was in London in September, you're going to need a coat in the evening. So pretty much everybody that was going to be arriving, and there were a couple of hundred people, was going to be bringing a coat. So everybody's looking around like, ah! And I'm not even thinking anything because I've never been to a thing like this before, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, so Alison, can you? And I've been to enough events where they've taken coats, enough nightclubs and stuff where they've taken coats. It can't be that hard, right? Like you were saying, it's like, we can do it. It can't be that hard. And that is literally how I then got into events, and which led to years later, me actually running my own events and wedding planning. Wow. So as you say that, and then I found out, oh my gosh, I love this. This is, and so many people get into things it's almost like you stumble across it by accident, but really it was just divine alignment. It was just never really an accident, but in your mind, that it was by accident. So it's interesting that you actually say that. And then here you are with your own business going on just by, I can do it.
Maybe, but here we are.
But it worked, right?
But it worked, yep.
So, as you mentioned, you offer fitness classes, but with a difference, with that twist. And most people in their business, that's what they want. They want that USP, right? They want that unique selling point. And yours, you combine praise and worship with, and I noticed it said hardcore fitness.
Yeah.
And what I like about what you had put is you encourage a judgment-free zone at your fitness classes, and you encourage individuals from all walks of life, ages, sizes, races, religious or non-religious beliefs, and just any fitness level to participate in the class. And some people would hear praise and worship and think, oh, well, I'm not going to go there because they're going to be Bible bashing, they're going to be taking the Bible and ramming it down my throat kind of thing. But the fact that you realized that it was important to say, look, yes, this is what it is, but no, this is not what we do here.
Absolutely.
So talk to us about that.
Yeah. I think it's so important, like you said, for Christians to really, really remember who Jesus was and what he was about. And Jesus was always just, I mean, like, I'm in Bible study right now, and he's just always like blowing my mind. Like, he's riding in on a donkey, and he really should be riding in on something up here because he's Jesus, you know? And Jesus was always with the poor, and Jesus was always doing things that were just at people's level. And people just meaning common folk, you know? And that's who we are. We are just people. And so for me, it was really important for Soulful Motion to be a place where people could come. Whether you are a super athlete, whether you've never been to a fitness class before in your life, whether or not you have this really strong, wonderful Christian relationship with God, or I don't know anything about God. We've had people who come to our classes who say, I don't believe in God. And we're like, okay, welcome. Have a great time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you are positive, when you are non-judgmental, when you are open to hear other people's stories, and people are open to share with you. And so Soulful Motion is such just an amazing space where those people who come believing there's no God, I don't believe in God, whatever that may be, most of them have turned and changed and say that could be nothing but God. And it's really amazing the space that we've been able to create with Soulful Motion. And so for me, creating a space for all people is really our mission statement, to be able to connect with God through praise, worship, and fitness. And it's really cool.
And something that you said I find very interesting, because you on your website and on your social media platforms, you make no secret of your love for God. You make no secret that you incorporate praise and worship into your fitness. So,
Mm-hmm.
did you ever find it surprising that somebody that says they don't believe in God would actually come to your class when you can think about there's so many others that they could have chosen from?
Absolutely. I'm always kind of like, okay, welcome. You know, like,
Yeah.
how did you get here? How did you find out about us? You know, and so the way that we start every class, it doesn't matter if you go to my class or some of our other instructors' classes, they all start the same. They look a little different right now in a pandemic, but usually we get into a large circle. We welcome everybody. We start with praise reports or good things that are happening and prayer requests. And people share anything that they would like prayer for, and then we open up with prayer. And it's usually always interesting to watch those people, you know, in those settings, because they either are like, I don't pray, you know, or I don't believe in that. And we're just like, okay, great. But these people do, you know, and we respect that you don't, so let's respect their time too,
Right.
you know. And it's just really, we say, you know, if you don't know somebody, introduce yourself, welcome this person here. But usually those people are friends with somebody else who comes.
Right.
You know, and they're kind of like, have you heard of this thing? I want you to come with me. Because it really is an experience that's like no other fitness class.
And that is what I wanted to ask you, because I didn't even stop to think that any of the people that come to you could potentially be people that say, I don't believe in God, because it clearly states this is what we incorporate. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so you tying in physical well-being to spiritual well-being, because especially in this day and age where everybody's very much aware of mindfulness and meditation and being at one and so on and so forth. But you don't really find places that tie the two together. You either go to the fitness studio and then you go to church.
Yeah.
so you're tying them in together. You offering that. Where did that come from? What really made you decide to say, okay, this is what it's going to be?
Yeah. So I think I mentioned before, I was just on maternity leave. And, you know, like I said, I love God. I love music. I grew up in a very musical home where my dad played music just all the time. And worship music is just something that I love, that comes from my mom. And so I am always looking for things like, how am I going to be of service to God? How am I going to do this thing? I would really love to sing, but I am not a singer, Lord. I tried this as my ministry. That is not my ministry. But I love fitness. No, I love fitness and I love to move. And so when I was on maternity leave, I was like, well, right now I was listening to Mary Mary song, Get Up. And I was like, I was in my feelings. I was at home. And I was like, let me just try to move to this. And that was literally the first song that I choreographed. And I was just like, okay, God, like this is really good, actually, you know? And so what I find is that I'm often just kind of listening to the words and just saying, God, how do you want me to move? And the interesting thing about Soulful Motion, as far as like the fitness and the praise and worship piece, is number one, we at Soulful Motion, sometimes that is people's only church. Sometimes that can be people's only experience of fellowship and other believers. you know, we find out a lot of things from different people within our fitness classes. And I'm learning too that a lot of people have come to Soulful Motion. The fitness is awesome. The fitness is great. And I know that because I'm a fitness instructor.
Mm-hmm.
But most people are coming for the church, the connection, the community, the fellowship, and all of their experiences that they're getting within that fitness community and aspect.
Wow. And a question that just occurred to me. So at the very beginning, you spoke of just the kind of person, the kind of man that Jesus was when he was here on earth. And he was amongst those that typically, in today's language, we would call the outcasts, right? Mm-hmm. He was amongst if you think about it, he was amongst the prostitutes and the tax collectors and so on and so forth. Have you had any pushback, so to speak, from any churches or anything like that, thinking, oh my God, this is sacrilege, blasphemy? How could you combine those two and say that's a place of worship?
No. And
that's surprising.
What I say that with hesitation too. Okay. So, you know, generally where people are teaching their classes are in churches or schools right now. And so, you know, I think the hard part is just where the business and church come together as far as tithing and payment and facility rentals. Those kind of things get tricky, but we do a really good job at kind of explaining who we are. We do a really great job of this is our mission, this is our vision, and this is what our program is all about. We like to get our community involved, you know, with what we're doing. But so far we've been really great. I mean, we live in West Michigan, which is a very Christian town and location. And so, you know, so far we've been good, but we haven't really had a ton of pushback here.
Oh, that's actually quite good, because I was having a conversation recently, and we were talking about work in the community and how it has been perceived. And the person that was doing it had mentioned that the way that they had gotten pushback and criticism and just being frowned upon. And what came to me was, it's amazing that it was the religious people that crucified Jesus. So, and when you look at it today, and I'm not church bashing at all. I'm a minister, so this is not even about church bashing, but it's looking at the mentality of how do you win people to Christ if you're out there bashing them. That's not what Jesus did. That's not who he was.
And that's easy to think about today. I mean, especially here in America, where we thinking political and all of that, where it's kind of like, oh, you're a Christian, but you believe this, and you're a Christian and you believe this, you know. Yes, those are conversations that are absolutely had within our program, for sure, you know, but I think it's just very important as a business owner, but also as a Christian, to really say, this is what the Bible says. This is what I'm supposed to do. And the other thing that I hate, because this is not my personality at all to say this, but like, this is what God placed on me, and this is what God placed in my heart. And so this is what I believe. This is how we will proceed and move forward with certain things. And tis what it is, you know.
That's so true. And I'm actually really pleasantly surprised that you haven't had that experience.
Me too. And I mean, we've almost gotten there, but we've made it work. And
that is really great. And so one of the things I wanted to speak to you about is the health and the fitness part. Because it's not just about going to the classes and moving your body and getting in physical shape. There's a lot more to it. So let's talk about the whole process, the whole holistic aspect of the health and wellness, because you spoke a bit about nutrition as well.
So like I said, wellness is kind of a term that our society is using right now, and it's
a buzzword for now.
new. Yes, wellness. But Soulful Motion truly is all encompassing of wellness. And so when you think of wellness, it's not one thing. So wellness is your physical and mental and emotional and spiritual health all wrapped up in one. Right. And so when you think about wellness, you need to think about all of those parts. And God put this Soulful Motion thing together because that was not what Amber needed to be doing right now, but that's what he wanted. And thankfully, it encompasses all those aspects of wellness. And so physically, we're going to move our bodies. It may be different every day depending on what our community needs, because Soulful Motion is a community. Mentally, most people are able to clear their minds and really just focus on the lyrics and the words and just the movements and worshiping God within those songs while they're moving. You talk about spiritual wellness. Obviously, that's our number one goal, is that people are making a connection with God while they're present. We send out newsletters, and so, it's there where you're going to find more of your mental health support. We have somebody who is so amazing. Her name is Kelly, who contributes to our newsletter each month to help us with that piece. And then there we will also throw in just some nutritional hacks and recipes and ideas and sometimes challenges each month as well with our community. So, we really, really try to hit all of the areas of wellness within our program. And even within our classes, we are a safe space. And so when it comes to praise reports, when it comes to prayer requests, we really share to get those things off of our hearts and off of our minds before we worship. And, we find out so much about our participants, whether that be diagnoses and deaths and things that people are anxious about or depressed about. So much happens in people's lives. And even within people that you wouldn't think, Soulful Motion is a place where people feel comfortable sharing. And so it truly is just a place where wellness is definitely present and is, our focus within our community and our participants. So.
Okay. And what about the living a healthy lifestyle, self-care? Because you yourself, you're a busy mother of 3, and you're a pathologist and you're a business owner. And you had spoken about, when I first heard you speak, so many mothers looking after everyone else and then not taking that time to look after themselves. Because I remember you said that you were looking at somebody's, I think you were either reading an article or somebody's social media, and you felt jealous of that.
Allison, I'm always looking at stuff, and we just need to get out of other people's business.
Yeah.
I literally, because it does nothing for us that's positive. Like, if you are a person and you know that me looking at how this mom is doing this, and she's able to make those lunches at night, and she's able to have this done and that done. If that doesn't make you feel good about who you are, then you should not be looking at that. It's too much. It's too much. And especially in like a pandemic, It's too much. It's too much.
So what would you say to some of those mothers that they feel like they're struggling to keep it all together, and they're trying to manage everything? And because what was it for you? How did that work for you, where you were able to say, okay, that's them. This is what I need to do for me and my household. What was it that you did that can possibly help some of these other mothers that are?
Sure. I think the first thing is you have to have people who are supportive of you and have nothing but your best interest at heart. My husband and my friends and my family are just really great at, asking me, why do you put all those expectations on yourself?
Mm.
For example, cooking. I just thought I needed to cook dinner every day. But at one point, that just gets really stressful with my job, my business. The kids have activities and things that they have to do, and the cleaning and everything, And so my husband was like, well, I didn't ask you to cook every day. Like, we can eat out. And I was like, okay, because I'm really struggling here, okay. And a lot of it had to do, like I said, with my own expectations of myself. And so what I really had to do is just kind of say, okay, what's important? And then what's important for my family, I really feel like my house should be clean, but my husband doesn't really care. So why am I stressing out about all of the things that the people who love me the most don't really care about? They want me to be happy and they want me to be present. And so really figuring out the time to give myself some self-care time and what that means for me. Self-care right now is also kind of a buzzword to me, Allison, like self-care Sundays, like I'm going to do a face mask and I'm going to take a bath. And I'm just like, that isn't what Amber's self-care looks like, And so for everybody, I think you need to figure out what that means for you. And then you also have to realize that you are important enough to make time for yourself to make that happen. With all of the things going on in my life, I said today, I'm going to get a babysitter today so I can move my body today. That's important to me. That's self-care for me, to get outside, to breathe some air, and just to move in that way. That would really make me feel good. That would fill my cup so that I am able to pour into the people that I love and care about. And so if you are feeling empty, you cannot continue to pour from an empty cup. It's so important for you to find time for yourself and to do some of the things that you want to do by yourself. I think that's another thing that society just gets wrong, like for a woman to go grocery shopping alone, that's not self-care. Just because she didn't bring her kids with her, that might not be something that she really enjoys doing, but she has to do, And so just really thinking, just to kind of put it all together, like what's important to you, and what do you need to do to feel whole again, to move forward, to support yourself and your people.
That's interesting. That part about just because you got to go grocery shopping without bringing the children, like,
or run an errand, child free. That's not it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That is interesting.
But I think women, we often accept that though, as
alone time.
Alone time.
But you're not actually present in that alone time, because like you said, if you're running errands or doing the grocery shopping, your mind is on, okay, once I've done this, the next thing is that. So your
What's
mind
next?
hasn't had that chance to stop and decompress and just be free or present in that moment.
Yeah.
Okay. That is actually a thought, and I'm hoping that there are some women that think, actually, yeah, running errands child free is not me looking after me. That's still me taking care of everything and everyone else.
That's still me doing what needs to be done for these people out here. Yes.
Yeah, and going back to the mindfulness, one of the things that I'm very much aware of is, and I'm trying to be very delicate and politically correct here, but there's an obesity problem. And I didn't notice it so much. And this is, again, this is not US fashion, so nobody write me, email me, text me, nothing. But I never knew of obesity until coming to the US. So, and what would you encourage and try to help people with? Because, and just because there's an obesity problem, I am very much aware some people are a bit heavier, not because they're lazy or they eat junk. I'm very much aware of that. And I'm very much aware that sometimes there are contributing factors, like, for example, if you have an underactive thyroid. And so I do know that sometimes there are mitigating circumstances. But I heard you speak about, like, a little bit on nutrition and just being fit and healthy. So talk to us a bit about doing that, because it's not just about moving your body. There's more to it than that, because you can move your body, but then if you're not eating right, or if you're not doing certain things, then you may as well just not do any of it.
Yeah. I think, Allison, there's health and nutrition for me, and this is just me speaking, and I am not a doctor, but just as a health and wellness professional, mental health is huge, and actually understanding food as well, and I know so many people who are thin but have health issues and have high blood pressure and have just health issues in general, because they are not healthy. And when you think of healthy, that doesn't just deal with weight, healthy, you need to be healthy mentally so that you can be physically healthy as well. And so number one, mental health, I think, is where you're really going to get to the root of a lot of different, issues. If I'm not healthy mentally, I'm probably not putting the best things into my body. If I'm not healthy mentally, I'm probably not thinking about moving my body. But the other thing about health too, is we need to think about health disparities, depending on locations of where people live. And I'm thinking of just in my city, there are just a number of food deserts. So meaning there may just be like a corner store where I can get a bag of chips and get a pop, and that'll hold me over, for a couple of hours, where there's really not a grocery store. There may not be fresh food available for people depending on your zip code or where you live. And so there are so many things in the US, that we need to think about when we talk about obesity, or when we talk about just being unhealthy in general. And so, if you are somebody that's watching this, and thinking about your overall health, number one, I just think that it's super important to figure out, mentally, am I healthy? And if not, that's okay. But what do I need to do to be mentally healthy so that I can have overall health and wellness as a goal. You know, if I'm depressed, I probably am not thinking about movement and nutrition.
Right.
Probably not, you know? And so your mental health needs to be a top priority for yourself. And in regards to your physical health, understanding just your relationship with food and what food does for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, food is literally gas for your body. It's how you're going to go. And it's what's going to keep you moving if you keep putting good things in it. I don't say that I only eat healthy foods, because I really like certain things, but you know, anything in moderation and balance is great for your body. You know, we are made of water, making sure that you are drinking water. I know of somebody who only wants to drink pop, and I'm like, your kidneys really want you to drink some water. I mean, like, your whole body really wants you to drink water. And just knowing what food does for you, knowing what water does for you in relation to your skin and your hair, and you just being able to carry out biological processes, digestion and breathing, and your ability to focus really has a lot to do with what you eat and drink. And so, you know, mental health for me is just, it's so important. And if you are good there, then you're able to kind of think about the fitness and nutrition aspects of being healthy.
Something you just said made me think. So, on top of mental health, for making sure, and I believe that's important, because I have actually done a series on mental health. So, and I've spoken to several mental health professionals. So it's interesting that you're bringing that into the fitness realm and arena, and we're looking at, okay, it's not just about getting out there and moving your physical body, because it starts in the mind. That's where it all starts. So it's interesting that that's all being tied together as well. Because, yeah, I can imagine in days when I was feeling down, like you said, the last thing I was thinking about is getting up and just like, okay, I need to work out, I need to do this. No, I wanted to lie down in my bed. And yeah. I was never really an ice cream person, or I must admit my weakness is chips and sweet popcorn.
I love chips.
That's my weakness. So my thing was, and I was never really a soda pop drinking person either. So my thing really would have been just sitting there. And because I remember there was one time when I was ill, a few years ago, I was traveling and I got a blood clot in my leg. Oh. And so in that frame of mind, because I was thinking about it, and it happened to me while I was on a flight. I was on from San Francisco to London. And that's, that's when it happened. And I was then thinking, I think it was something like a little over 5 years previously, a friend of mine had actually died from a pulmonary embolism on a flight. So for those that don't know, it's a blood clot that's then traveled to the heart and lungs. And it actually, she died on the flight.
Oh my gosh.
So you can just imagine, my mindset was, oh my God, I know somebody that died from this. This could have killed me. I was on a flight. It was so dangerous. And I tell you, all I ate, well, I did eat like proper meals.
Yeah.
But because obviously of having this clot, and by the time I got to the hospital, it had gone from my calf and traveled up. It was like in my hip area. So you know it was kind of on its way. So that made it even more scary. And I remember that I ate barbecue flavored chips and honey roasted nuts. It was just like, that was it. In between every single meal, that's what I was eating. And so when it came time to actually go back out and I had to put on proper clothes, I was like, why can't these jeans go up? And why is the button no longer meeting? So I had to put a belt on this. And So and I say that to say, so my mental state was not, I was not in a place that was making me even remotely think of anything healthy, like eating well,
Yeah.
doing any kind of movement. So as you're saying that, all these years, I actually never even made that connection and didn't even think about it like that. But yes, I can definitely say, been there, done that. And when I was just in, in my feelings, and I'm going to say quite rightly so, because I was in a very scary, life-threatening situation, my mind was just on me thinking, oh my God, what happened? And look at what's happening to me. So it's interesting that you say that. But one of the things that I also want to think of, mental health aside, because I'm not going to put it all on mental health. Do you think that the reason that there's a lot of unhealthy people, and like you said, you could be slim and still be unhealthy, and it's because of lack of education?
I do. I think that, like I said, people just not understanding what food does for you. The other thing that I think too, Allison, a lot of it has to do with how we're brought up, you know? And I'm just going to use this example because this is personal to me. As a Black woman in America, my family down the line, veganism wasn't something that anybody talked about. Thanksgiving is always really great with all the soul food and all of the everything, you know? And so as we talk about like health and wellness, you know, last Thanksgiving, one of our family members brought some vegan mac and cheese. And it was just so funny because I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that. It was really great. Where like our grandparents and everything are like, oh, what is that? I'm sorry. You know, like this is very different. And so a lot of, you know, when we think about what we eat and nutrition, it comes from what we've learned, you know, but only as we kind of venture out and become more educated about food, what it does for us, and how we can kind of figure out, am I able to access some of that? Because access to food is very big here in America, you know, like, do I have access to healthy foods? And for some people, that's no, you know. And so I know, like I said, for me, generation wise, it's very different, you know, where between even me and my parents, you know, of what they're gonna eat, what they're gonna try. No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not going to be a vegetarian. Just try, you know. But yeah, it's a lot about education and, you know, what education and access, I think, for me.
You mentioned something about the vegan mac and cheese, and I started to go back in my own mind and think, actually, yeah, now that you think about it, because again, growing up, so my parents are from Jamaica, and growing up, the veganism wasn't a thing, it wasn't heard of. The only people that I can think of that were vegan were the Rastafarians. And I don't know if anybody knows that initially, the Rastafarians in the Caribbean, they were actually seen as the outcasts.
Yeah.
So therefore, anything they were doing, nobody else was going to be embracing it. Nobody else was going to be accepting it because it's the Rastas.
That's what they do.
It's the Rastas, it's the dreads, it's them. When really their philosophies when it comes to nutrition is they're eating what's from the earth.
Natural.
Right. But now guess what, and look at what's the big fashion. I'm just gonna drink my sip of my tea. Because it's like, you know,
natural.
big fashion thing.
Holistic.
right? It's people eating what's from the earth and what everybody wanting to do, what's natural and nature, and everybody's all you know, doing the yoga pose thing. Everybody's all zen and at one with nature.
And meditation, it's all been done. This
is what these Rastafarians were doing from as long as I can remember, and even before that. That's how they live. And you see, the thing is, everybody took it as they're just the herb smoking, weed smoking, marijuana smoking. But no, what it was, their philosophies were eating natural from the earth things.
I bet they were really healthy though.
And like if somebody, they were very lean.
Like if somebody could go back and do some research, like I wish we could have known like their blood pressures and did like some blood work, because I bet you they would have been really healthy.
Yeah, and so talking about that, it's the education, and the upbringing as well, what you believe, because I have tried to go vegetarian. I have. But I don't know why God made meat taste so nice. Especially lamb. Father, help me.
Do you know I've never had lamb? Never. Not once. I heard it's the best though.
Speechless, because it is, oh my goodness. It is so good. That is actually my favorite meat. The only
is it?
There's two reasons why I don't actually eat it more. Red meat, and it's not cheap. It's so expensive. Lamb is quite expensive. So those are the two reasons I don't actually eat it more. Otherwise, I think I'd probably be eating lamb all day, every day, because I just absolutely love it. And not only that, and then when you think about it, like I said, my parents being from Jamaica, eating a lot of starchy foods, and I'm trying to think. No, we weren't really much on the fried food side of things, but there was a lot of starch, and that's why you find a lot of like Black people that have got high blood pressure, diabetes, and things like that, because like you said, it's our upbringing. That's what we were raised eating. That's what we know. That's what we did. And it's interesting you say about access, because I'm thinking growing up, because I'm a child of the 70s, and I remember growing up, and it didn't matter even if you lived in the roughest neighborhoods. And I grew up near to a couple of those, over here you would call them the projects. In the UK, we call them council estates. But no matter where you went, you always had a greengrocer's and a butcher's. And I'm just trying to think that, because even in some of those areas where people were afraid to go to, and I'm going to name a couple of them, places like Chalk Hill Council Estate, Stonebridge Council Estate, I remember growing up, and you could come out, because it was like the high-rise apartment buildings, and you could come out of them. You didn't have to walk very far, and there was a greengrocer's where you could get fresh fruit and veg.
That would be probably a corner store here. And I know that there are a couple of places here in where I live in Michigan that are working to put like fresh food in those corner stores. So like you could go get an apple or a banana at the corner store. But we do have some programs I know that are working to get more fresh fruit out into the community, and a couple of like pop-up farmers markets are doing that too.
Oh, but that is really good to hear, because you mentioned that, it never occurred to me. Because the truth of the matter is, you only know what you see on the television. When you don't live in a country, you only know what you see on the television. And it's wow, that actually never occurred to me. So that is really good to know. Education, access, and mental well-being. So that's great. Thank you so much. So what's next for Amber in Soulful Motion?
We are just currently working on navigating the pandemic and really trying to get some of our fitness online. So we're hoping to have a model coming up here really soon where our participants can just sign up for a subscription to be able to access our fitness. And then we're just kind of working on how we want to move forward with our community piece and really keeping our participants engaged as far as, you know, them being able to share their praise reports, prayer requests, all of those things. So we are just right now diligently working behind the scenes. So
great stuff. And so where can everybody find you?
yeah, so our website is soulfulmotionfitness.com, and we are also on Facebook and Instagram at Soulful Motion. And you can also sign up on our website for our newsletter. Each month, like I said earlier, you know, I'm sharing just some little tidbits just about either what I'm reading or what our focus is on for our Soulful Motion community each month. Recipes, it varies, but we're always going to have some God, we're always going to have some self-care in there, and where you can kind of find us each month. So
great stuff. Amber, thank you. It's been
thank you.
Kinds of conversations I like where I learn something. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber.
Thank you.